Hey everybody, my name is Mads Tolling and I live in San Francisco, California. What I'm holding in my hand here is a Yamaha SV250, the silent violin series. And it's an electric violin that is plugged in. And the reason why it's called the silent violin series is if it wasn't plugged in, it would sound something like this. Like air violin almost. So yeah, you have to plug it in like an electric guitar. Is also very quiet if you don't plug that in as well. So what I'd like to teach you today is a special technique that is kind of the wild west of playing the violin. It's called the chop. And the chop it comes from bluegrass music. That's where it originally came around. And then now you can really kind of do it in any kind of music. Because you have these different chop patterns that are really cool, and that I want to teach you some of them. I also just want to teach you the basic technique of the chop. So that's what we're going to start with. So you're used to just holding the bow the good old regular way, thumb bent here, which is correct, fingers down over the stick. That's a solid bow hold right there. But when you do the chop, I want to change that just a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the bow out a little bit like this. That means that my thumb is going to be straight and my finger is also going to be coming a little bit out. So this means that you really have a very solid grip around this bow here. It's not going to go anywhere. And that's really what you want when you do the chop. You don't want the bow to be kind of moving around in your hand. So when I do the chop here, I also want to kind of mute the strings from my left hand. I don't want any harmony for right now. So mute the strings with your left hand and simply hit the bow down the string. What you'll notice that I do here is I use a lot of wrist snap to really make the chop happen. Since the hand is sort of locked in, it's really the wrist that is going to make the chop happen at this point. So you want to be on the lower two strings. You don't go up here. It sounds kind of like, oh, that sounds really sharp. So lower two strings and come down here with the wrist. You also notice my arm is definitely participating as well as my fingers, but the main thing is the wrist snap. And once you're down and you get comfortable with this and you're good at just stopping the bow right away, you don't want it to keep going, stop it right away. Then you can do what's called an up chop. That is down chop, this is up chop. And the up chop, I was releasing the bow back over my shoulder. Back over my shoulder. Like a choo-choo train, you can just keep going. And a great way to practice a chop like that, no harmony, just go back and forth. The chop, the real benefit is when you start putting certain accents on certain beats of the chop, it makes it interesting. Then you get these patterns, and there are thousands of patterns that you could play using the chop. This is one. Right, that's just very downbeat oriented. And then you can do this. That one is a little bit more backbeat. 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it's based around dagga dagga 16th note, dagga dagga 2, 3, 4, dagga dagga dagga. All right. Basically, the chop just keeps going. I've never stopped the chop, but I accent certain beats. Within that, the pattern. Alright, so there are so many different combinations of just chop without even any harmony. So now I'm going to go back to the thing I showed you in the beginning, that sort of reggae cool sounding chop that I did. By the way, that's a piece written by Chick Corea called Armando's Rumba. A little snippet of that, where I made a version that has this sort of a reggae chop to begin with in the intro. It creates a nice contrast to the really fast Latin stuff that comes after. So anyways, so what you'll notice here is now you're not now you're, the difference here is now you're into triplets, and since it's really so ingrained into the time signature, what we really want to talk about here is 12/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's hard to say. So that's the kind of thing it is. And then I'm also adding some harmony to that, which just makes it more interesting. So that harmony actually gets the accents in this one. That's the pattern, and with the harmony. That's a C minor chord, so I'm playing a C and an E flat on that. And then I play a, next up is a D7 chord. I'm playing a C and a F sharp. And then I play a B and an F natural. That's a G7 chord. Now back to C minor. D, G. Do a little fancier chop pattern there. There are all kinds of combinations. Once you really learn about the harmony and get more comfortable with the chop, you can freestyle it like that. That's the neat part about it. But for now, when you're starting out with the chop, just make sure you get the right technique. Make sure you don't. You want to be really close to the frog. That's really important, because if you just can't do it out there. So I'm really close to the frog, very, very close to the frog, as a matter of fact. As close as you can get, pretty much. And then remember the wrist snap, the bow that goes a little bit behind your shoulder. So when you do the up chop, you're just kind of throwing it behind your shoulder, and you get that very crispy, clean chop. You don't want that sort of lingering crunch there. And it's going to sound kind of bad in the beginning. It did for me anyways, so don't be surprised if it takes a little bit of time. Eventually, what's really going to make your chop work is being able to feel the underpinnings of the rhythm. So if you're playing that kind of 16 note, really get solid on get solid on that, feeling that. Snap your tap your foot. Use the metronome if you have one, and get really solid on that. And then the chop is really basically a technique that just makes it possible to use on a violin. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching.